when we are little, we were so arrogant to a point that you would not stop doing it until you actually did it. And you were not aware of the fact that this was the greatest thing that you can ever do in your life. Trust me. You did not know that you were arrogant. You did not know that you are actually very ambitious back then about, you are passionate, so passionate about something. Look, you did not know these terms, but you were just doing it and it worked out. Every single time I doom scroll on Instagram, there is this sort of specific type of video I watch, and I actually love watching them. Okay, so it's a child, and this child is not even like 8 years old. He's barely 6 years old. The child is trying to do something, and the first few seconds of the video is them utterly failing at whatever they're trying to do. And the video obviously ends on a good note, which is they actually succeed in doing it, right? And it actually makes sense if you think about why. I always think about why I was so creative when I was a child. Like recently, I just asked myself, I was playing piano, and I asked myself, okay, you were so good at this. Why aren't you able to do this now? And I asked myself that question after thinking about this time period where I was literally, I was in my school choir. So this school choir requires me to, a group of choir, we used to sing prayer songs, group songs, and all of this for any events, every single, occasion in the school. And we actually had like an orchestra where they had multiple instruments, including piano, guitar, drums. But the only thing I was interested back then is it was the piano. So apart from us singing, there was like an orchestra group where they would do their thing alone, and it was one single event where it's like a combined fusion song where they play all the instruments together. And I remember, like, I think this is probably the greatest achievement of my life. I don't know, because, like, the thing is, while they used to practice their orchestra, like their fusion, we sit there and watch. So when they were doing their thing, when they were practicing their orchestra, you kind of listen to this 10 times, 12 times a single day, like the entire fusion, right? What I would do is I would come home and just try to do the exact same thing, A to Z. I would just completely try to replicate it on my piano, but just by myself. At that age, I actually used to do the entire thing by myself, and I succeeded in doing it. And I did not realize how insane it was back then, right? And unfortunately, the piano was taken away from me after a while, during that time period itself. So I did not get to pursue my, like, skill in piano. But you know what? It's fine. But if there was another thing which I was good at, was singing. Okay. And if you're I don't know if you're able to resonate with me, but when you're in school, and if you're a part of a choir, your group, you always are considered, like, you're kind of familiar in the space, in your school, that, oh, this guy is always on the stage singing. I mean, I was one of those guys. So I used to go to youth festivals and all of these festivals, and I used to sing like group songs and also individual. And I used to actually like win prizes. Like I used to sing light music English, and I remember I was very young, and I got a first place the very first time I tried this on a stage. And I was like, okay, I didn't even know what I was doing. I thought, okay, what, looks good, feels good, everybody is clapping and all of these things. Little did I know that this exact same thing would all come to an end because of one single failure. And obviously, from a very young age, I've always learned to take responsibility for my failure. So at no point in my life would I blame it on anybody else. Even if what I'm about to say might sound like it's a them problem. No. Okay. So let me explain. So I told you how I was singing, blah, 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 and I was doing all of this stuff. And I was asking myself, why are you not as creative as you were back then? And let's go back to the story about the child where the child is trying to do something and he actually fails for a few times and eventually just starts to succeed in whatever he was trying to do. And I realized that every single one of us, when we are little, when we try to do something, we actually we were so arrogant to a point that you would not stop doing it until you actually did it. And you were not aware of the fact that this was the greatest thing that you can ever do in your life. Trust me. You did not know that you were arrogant. You did not know that you are actually very ambitious back then about, you are passionate, so passionate about something. Look, you did not know these terms, but you were just doing it and it worked out. When I told you about how I was literally recreating my entire orchestra, it was the very thought of me thinking I can do this and I was actually able to do it. So I got a clear answer to why I'm not as creative as I was back then. It's because right now, I'm gonna be frank. I try a few things, and if it really does not, amount to, I don't know, like a big outcome or something, the chances of me just leaving it's normal. It happens. Obviously, I mean, you have your dreams, which you always keep pursuing, but when it comes to creativity, there is always a line you would draw. And I answered my question, and that's the exact point where I asked myself another question is what happened to your singing? Okay, to give you a bit of context, right now I'm an awful singer. I'm horrible at singing, and the moment I sing, people would tell me to stop doing it. I'm joking. But, look, here's the thing, right? The last time I was singing, my friends actually told me to stop singing. And you know what? They're actually right. I'm pretty horrible. But where did it go wrong, you might ask? Because I was very good at singing, and my parents believed that I could be a great singer. But where did it go wrong, you might ask? So, like I said, I was going to a lot of youth festivals where I'm gonna sing individually and I'm singing in group songs. So, I went to this one place, right? And so here's the thing about going to youth festivals. You would have to sleep in the classrooms. Oh, obviously, you're not gonna sleep in hotels. So you arrive at the school the day before the competition and you just sleep in the classroom. Now, unfortunately, and the most dumbest thing I did the day before the competition was I slept right under a fucking fan. So what happens is it was already too cold, and I realized that I woke up the next day, my throat was gone. I could not even speak. When I was speaking, my voice would crack. That's how fucked up it was, and I knew, okay, it's out of my hands. I don't know what to do right now. But I also, at that time, I was like, you know what? I came this far. I'm gonna do this anyway. And the competition I had to participate was light music English, and obviously, I took a bath and I went and okay, it was my turn to go onto the stage and start singing. I went onto the stage and I started to sing. The song I was singing, I really remember it to this day. It was Love Yourself by Justin Bieber. The song which I'm not going to sing, bro. I don't want to sing it. It's not trauma or anything, but I just don't want to sing it. So, Love Yourself by Justin Bieber, I started to sing it. Bro, I think that was the worst I've ever done in my life. Not even during my practice, not even when I, one of, those shower songs where you sing while you take a bath. Not at all. Not even then. That was the worst performance I've ever put in my entire life because my voice was gone. And two things happened here, okay? The first thing is that I noticed the judges. I've always started to scribble something. Now, obviously, my immature brain thinks that I've got disqualified when I started singing for the first 10 seconds. Okay, so there was all the confidence was rock bottom. It was all gone. And to top that, you know what happened? The people at the back started to laugh. Like I can literally hear them laugh, right? And bro, I knew that okay, this was like you know what? There's no point of singing. Like I could literally just stop singing and get off the stage. But because I knew that wasn't really nice, I completed my song and I walked off the stage. I walked off the stage with zero confidence, and I don't know, man. I think I was actually having some tears in my eyes. I still remember. And the worst part about this was first person I saw was my crush back in back in my school, and she was there like she's asking like, "Oh, did you finish singing?" I'm like there like a fucking dumbass like, "Oh yeah, I did good." I don't even know, bro, what happened there. But after that incident, I literally gave up entirely. I never stepped foot on a stage to sing. It took a few trial and error to regain my confidence. But if there was one definite thing that happened was I really gave up on my singing. Like literally, I don't know, for some reason, not for some reason, I think I actually have the reason, and that's exactly what I'm going to explain it to you. So obviously this incident happened, and I hadn't, I was so afraid to go on a stage for the next couple of months. But then obviously because you still are studying in a school and you would have to come to the stage, not if not to sing, to speak on something. So there was this time period where I had to, it was some Independence Day or something. They asked me to do a speech. So I gave that speech, and then I realized, okay, I don't have the stage fear. Maybe it's just the singing, in order for me to talk, I don't think I don't have any fear, like obviously, right? I just stopped singing, and there was absolutely nothing going on. And right now I'm 21 years old, and every now and then I just ask myself, is it really because of puberty where you lost your voice, or is it because you just, like you conformed, you literally firmed it that you weren't able to do this? And not chances, I'm pretty sure it was my own fault that I stopped to, it was my own fault that I decided to quit singing. Have you guys heard of beginner's luck, right? You guys have heard of beginner's luck. Now, when you're a child, you're a beginner to life. And I'm not saying that you're very lucky. Like, I'm not saying that everybody is born lucky, but at least when you try to do something, you become lucky because you would not stop trying to, like I said, you would not stop trying until you finally get it. So when you keep trying, the most obvious law of life, the more you try, the more you get lucky and you finally get it. But no matter who it is, failures are always important. So just like that child, I was always trying to do things, and there was no adversity at all. That was the first failure of my life. When I got onto the stage, that was the first failure of my life. Like, people started to laugh, and I realized that, okay, I've humiliated myself. And the worst thing that happened to me was nobody was there. And look, again, I'm not trying to blame anybody, okay? I don't care, I was a child, okay, but there is no point of blaming anybody. Nobody had told me, and probably none of us had the privilege to be informed about the fact that you would fail after a constant like series of victories, especially when you're a child. So here's the thing, we already know the fact that the child where he tries to do something and until he gets it, he would just, like, he knew for a fact that, okay, I'm gonna get this thing. But when you have a serious failure, when I say that, what I mean was like a major failure, a failure where I was literally angry, disappointed, a failure which made me go through all 5 stages of grief. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So, because let's not get confused, because like I said, obviously you don't get things as a child when you try it for the first time, but it's the small failures that you don't really care about it, but because all you have in your mind is that you are able to do this thing. So nobody literally told me that when you fail, you'll have to just pick yourself back and just keep going. Nobody had told me that. And I thought, okay, that was the end of it. And yeah, I really think that that is the end of it. Thinking back, I don't know if it would have been any different, because like I said, singing is an art which requires you to be consistent with a lot of practice, and literally anything in life. Right now, I don't have any regrets, but it's very obvious, isn't it? Because what I do for a living right now, I've cultivated this skill over 6+ years. I've started to do my thing when I was 13 years old. Right now I'm 21. Okay, it's more than 6 years. But obviously it takes a lot of time. But the point I want to make in this video is it's equally important for the adults to tell their children that failure is as important as the victories, because oftentimes we as child, when we are children, we try to do things, and like I said, those small failures, they don't really mean much, because you know for a fact that regardless of what happens, like let's say that the child I mentioned first, like at the very beginning, if he tried to do something, and even if he did not succeed in doing it, it wouldn't mean something. Like, it's just a normal day in the life. But when you go through all 5 stages of grief, right? Those major failures which were uncalled for, you really have no clue what that's gonna do to your thoughts. Nobody tells you it. Nobody talks about it. If there's one takeaway from this video, it has to be to keep doing something until you finally get good at it. Luckily for me, I've already proved myself that I'm good at something, because I kept doing it for a very long period of time, and which is the reason why I don't regret about anything else I've stopped doing when I was a child. Let me know if you guys have any experiences like this, and if you watched so far, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Let's see you in the next video.